Let's get ready to rumble!
Entrepreneur Weekly, presented by Vero Concepts.
Well, I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you, I make you laugh.
Our focus is on entrepreneurs and business owners. Look, nobody else is going to tell me what I'm worth.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Yeah, overnight success generally takes 10 years of failure.
Loud noises!
No, I don't love money. I love making money.
Show me the money!
With special guests and audience call-ins.
Trailing off, and did I catch a niner in there? Were you calling from a walkie-talkie?
Don't try to understand them, just rope them, throw and random. Soon we'll be living high and wide. My heart's calculating, my true love will be waiting at the end of my ride.
Keep them doggies rolling or whatever.
Yeah. Well, good evening. This is episode 4 of Entrepreneur Weekly. This is our weekly show on different various business topics. My name is Keith from Vero Concepts, and I am here with Vince Runza, once again, the master wordsmith and person who is knowledgeable about just about everything you would find unimportant in the world.
Which is absolutely, totally true.
Right. No, we all got to do something, right?
Unimportant fact number 486,932, dogies. Dogies are orphaned cow calves. Their mommy died, and now they're just dogies.
Yeah. See, we learned something new. He told me that before the show, and I'm like, I did not know that. So not only is this show fun and entertaining, and you get to learn stuff, but you get to learn fun, useless facts that you can, baffle your coworkers with.
Right, now, why are we talking about dogies?
Well, I mean, you had actually suggested the intro or after intro music, which we try to do every week, that's somewhat relative to what we're doing within the show. And our show this week is about branding and identity. So why did you suggest that?
Oh, because I thought cattle branding, but that was just silly, and I cultivate silliness as a character trait, so why not?
That's why I said somewhat relative.
And totally irrelevant.
Well, even better. I wallow in irrelevance 90% of the time, so or at least so I'm told. So yeah, this week we're discussing branding and identity as it relates to your business, of course, and there a lot of times people confuse the two or lump the two in together, and they actually are two different things, pretty much within the same wheelhouse per se. But you get your corporate or business identity, and then you get the branding. Identity is more how it's run and organized, your ethics, how it looks as it integrates into the business world, while the branding relates to more how you want people to feel about your company. Does your customer, consumer, trust you? Are they confident that you will provide a quality product or service? So, a lot of times, and I've done it in the past too. I kind of mix up the two and count it as one, where I think of branding as more, just design a new logo. It's more than that. You agree?
Yeah, identity's more the under the hood stuff. It's what you talk about at meetings and all this. It's an internal thing, whereas your branding is how you are perceived by the world. It's a relationship. A brand is the relationship that you have between your business and your customers, your clients, the people that you're reaching out to, so that while you may have, different business goals that you want to accomplish and you want to have certain markets that you want to exploit, when it comes right down to it, your branding is about getting people to love and respect your business.
Right. I mean, in a lot of people, I mean, if you think of it this way, without it, when you're sitting there trying to, what is my brand? How do think about this. What makes your organization different in a customer relevant and compelling way? In other words, if you were to go out of business, what would your customers say, or your ideal customer, if you're not quite in business yet? What would you want them to miss most about you? That is how I kind of explained it in the past to people, and that somewhat hits home, and it puts it in a more real way for them to understand the difference.
And the thing for somebody who's looking to start a business, especially if you're going to be in a competitive market, whether it's a brick and mortar store or whether it's an online business or whatever, your brand is going to be the thing that makes you stand out in a field of all the other brands that are available. I'll give you an example that I've seen locally. Gas stations. There are gas stations, practically speaking, every few blocks where I am. And some have, national brand names. Some are little local things,
Yep.
It's Buddy's Gas and Go, or, there's Gas and Mini Mart and whatever. The important thing about this, though, is you're not going to get loyalty if your brand doesn't reach out to people and make them at least want to check you out. I know this because right at the end of my block, there's a little gas station, currently out of business. They were in business before with a little market and thing, and then before that they had a brand name, and then before that they were still, just a little privately held thing. But the key point was they didn't really have a brand. They just had gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that they missed, and the things which the guys down the street, literally half a block away, had going for them. Well, actually, they had two things going for them. One was they had a brand name, Sunoco, and the other was they had a brand of Sunoco because they had, a nice mini mart, pleasant help. They thought about this whole thing in terms of building customer loyalty through meeting customer needs. Whereas the other place, we got gasoline, we got some cigarettes, and maybe, you want to buy a map or windshield wipers or something like that, and that's all they had. And their point was, well, look, our gas prices are competitive. People were willing to go across the street, pay a few cents more for the gasoline, because there was something more appealing about this other business, because it was a brand.
It's right. It's the brand, and it creates an experience. I mean, there's nothing romantic about buying gas. You buy gas. You need gas. And I could take that one step further with your example. We have, obviously, Sunoco's up here in Massachusetts, and within, I want to say, a mile of each other, there are two Sunoco stations. One, the owner is there. I met him multiple times. And my experience of going there is much more pleasant. The reason being is you go inside and they've got everything. They got a whole snack section. It's a full size mini mart inside. The other one, the people that they hire are always rude. The inside of the location, as far as a mini mart, is probably a third of the size, wicked cramped, and you could barely move in there. You walk in the door, you're immediately in the line, and you have to walk through people just to go get a drink or anything. And I just never have a good experience there. I do go there on occasion just because I'm in a hurry, and it's right by the highway, so they have a location for them. However, the experience is horrible, and there is a price difference. It's not much, but a few 3-4 cents a gallon is pretty big when you're filling up a work van. And but I'll go to the other one more often than not and go out of my way because of the experience and the way that the company is presented. It's about the experience.
So if you have an already established business and things, it's okay, but it's not all that great, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what's all this brand stuff got to do with it? The first thing you have to think about is, what is the customer experience dealing with your business? Because if you're selling retail and your cashiers and your clerks are all people with miserable personalities, if walking through the store is a chore rather than a pleasure, then you're not thinking about brand at all. You're just thinking, well, I've got great prices or I've got great merchandise. And hey, guess what? That may not be enough. And if you're thinking about starting a business, irrespective of what, particular niche or how you're going to do it, in real life or online or virtual or whatever, the important thing to think about is, what can I do almost immediately to make people, what's going to attract them to this business? What is it that's going to attract them and keep them? Because you may have the greatest thing since sliced bread, but if it's a miserable experience, like if you're selling a product that people buy and use up and have to buy again, you're not going to get the repeat business that you need to stay in business. If nobody wants to do business with you, they'll go somewhere else.
Right, and that's, if you break it down, if you are new and you're trying to figure it out, or you have an existing business and you've lost your way, it can be broken down into four things. Functional. This is about your service or your product or whatever it is that you do for business or want to do. You got functional. You can use that as a benefit for building your brand. When I say functional, we have the safest car in the world. We have the warmest jackets on the planet. We have the strongest coffee. Those type of things. If your business falls into that category, then you got emotional. You got things that make you feel good when you buy them, whether a portion of the proceeds go to a charity or a big company, Harley Davidson, for example. You ride it, you feel like a badass, or you think you're a badass anyways. It's built on that emotional purchase. And then the other one of the other two is experience. Does it give you, when you buy something, or you provide a service, is it something that gives you a sensory pleasure, like a perfume or something like that? Red Bull is one of those things that when you look at their branding and their advertising, it's a very, probably the prime example of this. And then the last one is, self-expressive, in your business or service. It's something that's more self-serving to the individual, that applies to maybe their self-image, for example. You got something like an Apple iPhone, you getting the latest and the greatest makes you feel cool. I'll go back, and Harley Davidson kind of falls into a couple of these categories, but the supposed raw masculinity, when you get on a Harley Davidson, or Movado watches, or Rolexes, or Louis Vuitton bags, whatever it is that plays someone's vanity or just makes them feel good about themselves. So somewhere in those four, your business is going to fall, and is going to be where your strong suit is where you should be focusing a lot on your identity.
And there's another important point that I think people need to understand the difference between a feature and a benefit. See, a feature is what you think is cool about your business, your service, your whatever. A benefit answers two vitally important questions for the consumer, for the client, and that is, what's in it for me? And equally importantly, what else is in it for me? Mm-hmm. And a failure to focus on benefits when you're thinking, well, I've got the latest and greatest auto parts, and I have a huge stock and whatever. And if you're not thinking to yourself, if you're not getting the message out there that you don't have to shop around, you come to us, we've got it, and we'll give it to you right away. Or you don't have to wait weeks for delivery. You'll walk in the store and you'll walk out with the product. If you're not selling the benefit, the solution to a person's problem, rather than saying, oh, well, what we've got is it's like really cool technology. Yeah, well, really cool technology doesn't matter at all if it doesn't solve a person's problem. Or if your attitude is, we're unique, I saw this wonderful meme on the internet, a picture of a line of forks, and one of the forks was all bent out of shape. It said, just because you're unique doesn't mean you're useful.
Yeah,
You know?
true. Yeah, I mean, going back to understanding, what it is you're offering, some of that revolves around research and knowing your ideal client, who you're targeting, and not just what you think is cool or what you want to do. I actually spent some time for a change on doing a little bit of research for this show. Usually I wing it. I know it's hard to believe. But I actually found some good and bad examples, but this is relevant to the bad examples. So I want to go over this. Some of these you'll know, some of these you will not know. There's only a few. So some bad examples of not really knowing your market or just doing research, like maybe a focus group or anything. The Burger King commercials, the one with the creepy king, that had to be one of the worst fails in branding and marketing ever. Yeah, to a degree, you found it. Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was kind of creepy funny. But when they did the studies after they axed the campaign, when they realized they weren't yielding any results out of it, they lost money due to this. And the focus groups, there wasn't a one where the majority didn't rule that the king was frickin' creepy. And it reminded me of that. You ever watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? The madam puppet.
Oh yeah.
I forget her name, but that thing creeped the fuck out of me. I'm sorry. Every time I saw that, I'd run out of the room. I don't know what it was. I get nothing against puppets, but that one puppet, out of all of them, just creeped me out. And the king always reminded me of that. So that's one. The next one, back when Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus was popular. Disney went through and they branded everything they possibly could with her name, with the Hannah Montana image, anyways. And I don't know who the genius was, and it's borderline ignorance and genius, I guess, if you're perverted. They branded Hannah Montana cherries. You could eat a Hannah Montana cherry. I swear to God, you could Google it. So I'd say that's up there with the fails. And the last one I'll talk about is Panasonic. Panasonic years ago wanted to break into the PC market. No research here whatsoever on their part. So when it came to the branding part, their computers probably were awesome. They decided to use a mascot as far as this branding. And then they used that and transferred it over to the name of the computer. And they used a beloved cartoon character that we all grew up with, Woody Woodpecker. We've seen the Roadrunner on things, obviously Dodge. So, Woody Woodpecker, here we go. So, but they decided to call the device Woody, the Woody. Okay? And it had a touchscreen feature, so you could touch Woody. And, like some other companies, it has its own automatic web browsing feature, the Internet Pecker, because you can peck around for information. So needless to say, that was a huge fail. You probably don't know about it because it didn't last very long. And but those are examples of just not doing your research, not understanding your market, not just going by what you thought was cool or perverted in these cases, I guess. But no. Bring this all back to your point of you can't just go by what you think is cool.
Yeah, and just, again, another random, irrelevant fact. You can Google this if you like, but when they were going through the different names for what this character, Hannah Montana, was going to be, one of the ones they had considered was Alexis, Texas. And if you're not familiar with Alexis, Texas, just go Google that and make sure there are no kids in the room.
I can imagine. Yeah, that probably wouldn't have been a good. In hindsight, it kind of, But anyways, wow, that's scary. So yeah, I have a couple good examples, not many, and one's got a good and a bad together with it. Coke. Coca-Cola, to be more specific. And, we all remember the new Coke and how horrible that was. And, that was not, trying to, what they thought was, new and hip back at the time. They were trying to, I don't know if they were trying to make it more like Pepsi or what, but I hate Pepsi to begin with. But, Coke had its signature flavor, its signature look. And when we say Coke, unless you're, out in the streets, diving in dumpsters, you know what I'm talking about. It's Coca-Cola. And it's branded so well and so strong for so long. You know exactly what to expect. And through their commercials and advertising, you know what they're about. Nike is another one. They've done a phenomenal job beyond comparison for branding themselves. Are their shoes that great? No. I mean, I know better. I've worn better. However, they've branded themselves so well, they can create a new shoe and immediately associate themselves with a basketball star or a football star or an athlete and immediately sell out. They're just brilliant marketers, as with Apple. You know what to expect with Apple. And Apple is one of those things, you either like them or you don't like them, but you know exactly what to expect. And the last one, you may not know, but if you get a chance, look them up online, look them up on Facebook. It's a company called Death Wish Coffee. I fell in love with these guys when I first saw them, maybe 2 years ago. And they've come a long way since. They've actually partnered with, I think it's Zach Wilde from Black Label Society, used to be a guitarist for Ozzy, for a brand of coffee off the Death Wish. But their entire thing is, we are the strongest coffee in the world. And they've played off of that one simple sentence. And they are blowing up unbelievably. So if you get a chance, check them out. I personally think they're an awesome example of branding.
And this also brings up an important point with respect to your brand. You've heard the expression, say it in 25 words or less. Well, if you can say it in 10 words or 5 words, this is what you want to do. You want to be able to focus in. Like, there's a certain famous pizza maker here in the States who came up with this slogan, 30 minutes or less or it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When you're thinking in terms of your brand, you want to be able to boil it down to something that's that concise, that compact, that, okay, Nike is just do it, 30 minutes or less or it's free. There are so many other brands that you can think of where they've got it just like that. It's tight, it's concise, it sends a message that, again, delivers a benefit to you, okay? Not just a feature. That, if you can express your benefit that concisely, then you're talking something good. Then you're talking something that's valuable to both the consumer and, of course, to you, because the idea is to make the money so you can be in business next month to make more money to stay in business.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, though, is the difference between the features and the benefits that you touched on earlier. And it ends up being strictly feature. You agree?
Yeah, and even worse, they want to give people a lot of choices. It's like the more choices I give people, the better. No! Remember, we're living in the information overload age. And if the way you're presenting your product or service is such that, well, for each step of the buying process, you got to make 4 decisions. You will find out, like, for example, if you're selling a product online, and the beginning of that process is to make a decision of, pick, one of these 4 things. Okay, you go to the next step, you have to pick another one out of the 4 things, and then the next step is 1 out of 4 things. No! I'll give you a simple example. Shipping. If you're shipping a physical product, wouldn't you want to give people a choice between, you know, express delivery, 1 to 2 day delivery, 1 week delivery, or the absolute rock bottom cheapest, it'll get there with, before 30 days have gone by? No, you give them one choice, maybe 2 at tops. And this is for one simple reason. You're delivering a benefit to people when you respect their time. Okay? So you may think, well, the more choices, well, again, it's going to depend on the particular business, the particular product that you're selling.
Right.
But the less choices that a person has to make before they hit the buy button or they have to leave the store with the product in their hand, the better. Because if you waste people's times making unnecessary choice, but I want to give them as much variety as possible. No, what you ultimately want them to do is to love and respect you. If they're going to love and respect you, you're going to respect their time.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done it. I've bought stuff online, for example, and it's just been, click it, goes to your cart. Would you like to add this? No. Would you like to add this? No. How about this? And then some of it's there, but you got to uncheck it because you didn't want it. And then it's like, okay, we have this option. Yeah. By the 5th step, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just want to order it and go on with my business. And sometimes I've actually clicked away and just said, screw it, I'll get it somewhere else, or I'm just not going to get it because it's just such a cumbersome. I mean, granted, you're right. Some products do require, if you're buying certain things, yeah, you want to make sure, if you're having a custom computer built and you're doing it online, yeah, you need multiple choices so that you know what to put in it. But for the most part, every step is simple as possible. Less choices, less confusion, quicker process, happier customer.
Sure. Look at Amazon. Amazon's got buttons there to say, do you want to put this in your cart? Or buy with one click.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to sit and think about this. I just punch that, and it's got my credit card information. It's standard shipping, and boom, it's on its way. I don't have to think about it because you know what works best for you. Like, if you're not totally broke, and it doesn't matter whether or not you get free shipping, by making the $35 or more purchase or whatever, you just, boom, click, bought, done. Now I can go to the bathroom or go back to watching the television or whatever it is that you were doing before that you interrupted because you had to go buy something.
Right.
And it's that same kind of thoughtful approach to your customer, to your idealized customer. If you can get inside their head and figure out, well, how do they do all these things? This kind of research is vitally important. One of the things we got to do in a future show is talk about demographics and talk about the breakdown between, there's one demographic over here, there's another one over here. I know of a guy who targets young women, 16 to 18 years old. He'll go as high as 21, but their parents have disposable income in excess of $100,000 a year. In other words, these are young women who have more money than common sense, and he will target this market by selling them something for a penny with $9.99 shipping and handling. Okay, so you just spend $10. The product itself probably costs less than $1. The shipping, add another $1 or $2 tops. So he's making, 80 cents on the dollar for everything that he sells. And it's simply because the products that he chooses, the pitch,
everything's
the whole process,
traffic, right.
Everything is geared towards these people who want instant gratification, and they have no impediment to pushing that click button and saying, I want that now. I mean, they won't get it instantly. It's a physical product, right. But they're going to know it's going to be shipped.
Yeah, and that's, I think a lot of people miss out on that. Or, to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of companies out there, or a good percentage of them, that really don't even have a brand or an identity at all.
They got a business.
Yeah.
It's a thing business. I sell things.
And they have an image that they use to represent their business that they put on their cards and their shirts and their signage, but that's it. No identity at all.
Because they have no identity and definitely no brand. Because, again, they looked at the features. We've got all this stuff that has all these great features, and why wouldn't people just come to us and buy all of our things? And the answer is they don't like you all that much. And it's just that simple.
Well, I mean, part of it too, though. I mean, if you want to get back to the imagery and the branding aspect as far as how it looks, I mean, you still got to stand out to a degree within your business. Circle your niche. You're not going to have something that's a flashy product or service and have a bland image represent you. And vice versa. You're not going to be a doctor's office and have, a neon sign with a girl on a stripper pole. I mean, you got to have, and I highly recommend having that, but not as your, I just don't think it's a good idea. And I think a lot of people miss the boat when it comes to logos and the colors that they use for their business. It just doesn't represent. So you got to remember, a lot of times people are driving by or clicking by if you're online and don't necessarily know what it is that you do. But the right imagery or something that represents you at the same time will help identify. And if it's something that they're interested in, will actually stop in and visit you, or click on your link or go to your website and find out what you're all about. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because remember, again, the information overload age. If you're looking at a logo or a graphic or a page online for a business, and you're saying, what is this? It's like, who are you and what do you want? And if you can't, if the image that you're projecting doesn't tell people what that is, then forget about it. I mean, I'll give you an example. Vero Concepts doesn't automatically say to you that it's this thing or it's that thing or the other thing, but it's clearly branded that this is for entrepreneurs, for people who like to take stuff from a place where it has low value and bring it to a place where it has high value, sell it, and make money.
Right.
All right? And there's also one other thing. For anybody who's known Keith over the years, they know he's the kind of guy who isn't for everybody.
Yeah, my ex-wife was right.
Oh, absolutely. And, not that I know her, but Keith made a decision, and one of the decisions that he made was he wants to appeal to people who aren't overly timid. You'll find sometimes his language is a little salty. He's a little blunt about things. In other words, he's not one of these smarmy entrepreneurs who's going to make you feel really good about you. Sometimes he's going to make you feel like shit, and you deserve it, because the whole point of what Keith's trying to accomplish and what I'm trying to help him to do is to reach out to those people who either are in business and they've had enough of mediocre, or these are people who are thinking about going into business and want to get the right rules up front and don't want to play around with a lot of positive thinking stuff that never really gets to the point, that never really gets to, well, okay, what do I need to do? And you want to get shit done, work with this guy.
Well, I mean, I think that brings us into the identity of the business as well, because, the whole theme of everything is, we respect you mentioned it earlier about respecting people's time. I've read, and just as you have, and I'm sure most people that have listened to this have read self-help books and, success autobiographies and things that are designed to motivate you or to get you to do stuff. They're 600-700 pages long. There's 85 steps. You have to get up every morning and recite your mantra into the altar of the business gods, at least once a day. Otherwise, the whole thing falls to shit. That's great. And when you get successful and you want to get even bigger, knock yourself out, please. There's nothing there that, everything's different for everybody. Our whole theme is, I've been in business, you've been in business, most people have been in business. Understand, time is money. And if you're wasting it, you ain't making it. So, you have to take everything with a grain of salt that you read. However, our whole thing is, we're trying to give you as much information that's needed without all the fluff, without all the bullshit that goes along with it, and say, here it is. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Do it and be successful. It's
And
not
be
that
accountable.
hard, so that's our identity.
Yeah, because between the two of us, I bet we've read most of the stuff out there that has to do with the inspirational, aspirational, be successful material, books, information. I've gone to seminars. I've talked with people who are, multimillionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're trying to deliver here, what I'm trying to help Keith to deliver here, is we've boiled it down to these are the handful of things that you really need to do, and everything else is just fluff. Because if you're not motivated, if you don't have the energy, if you don't have a plan, if you don't know what it is that you enjoy doing, then all that other stuff isn't going to make any difference. Most importantly of all is, once you decide that you want to be successful and you've got a plan, then you got to be hanging out with like-minded people who have that same inner crazy that makes you want to be in business in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Definitely inner crazy, because we're not a sane group.
And you're going to have to be willing to put yourself out there and say, this is my goal. And if you don't hit that goal, you have to move things, and then you're going to get some ribbing about it, or you're going to get some, people going, yeah, you said you were going to, well, what happened? In other words, you're going to have to commit publicly to being a success at this. You don't just, I got it in my heart and I'm going to strive. Yeah, that's not going to get you anywhere. You know what's going to get you somewhere? Taking some action, telling people you're going to take action, not necessarily your mother-in-law.
Right. Yeah, and block out all the bullshit that goes along with you actually doing so, because I've done it, and I've publicly stated that what I was going to do, and half the people, hey, and the other half the people threw watermelons at me. It was, what are you doing that for? You got a great job, and so that's enough about us. But that's kind of what we're going. As far as we were talking about logos, if I had a nickel for every time, especially in today's environment and all the technology that we have available to us, branding across multiple platforms from if you have a brick and mortar store, your signage within the store, your sign, any advertising that you do, your website, your Facebook page, your Instagram account, your Twitter account, anything like that. If I had a nickel for every time I saw a company that had a different logo or a different image or different something across all of them, it's like I find a company that I like and I'm looking at them and, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I'll go check out, they follow us on Twitter. You click on Twitter, it's like, am I on the right account? It doesn't even look like the same freaking company. And bands are famous for this. They throw up a picture of the band together and they don't put their logo or anything like that, or some metal bands put so much into their logo you can't even read it. But there's no consistency, and it's no different if you think like a franchise. If you're going to go to one location, then you go to 3 states over, and you go to another franchisee, it's got to look the same. And they're sticklers about that. There's a reason behind it. People want to see who you are and be reminded. It's consistency, and God forbid, it's not that hard to do, but nobody does it. Or very few do it, excuse me.
The ones who are successful do it. The ones who stay in business do it. Again, I'm thinking about, it's the difference between, okay, you got a sign out front of your business, and you go in and you see their business card, and the business card is different. Or
Yep.
You have the business card and says, go to our website. You got a website, and that one's different. You got a Facebook page, and it's like, who didn't do this?
Right.
Yeah.
And you lose customers. I don't care what people say. You lose customers that way, or potential customers at least. And
yeah, I mean, look, if you're delivering a benefit to somebody, and they're committed to it, then it's not going to matter whether your logo matches this, that, or the other thing. It's just you may not get any new customers.
Exactly.
Or you're going to have to depend entirely on word of mouth, which in these days, nobody talks to anybody anymore. They all got their faces on their smartphones with their thumbs, clicking away.
Yeah, it's and the same thing goes with if you have an app. Speaking of cell phones, if you have a company where you have an app that makes life easier for your customers or helps bring in new customers or retain, it's the same thing. You got to keep your branding and your imagery, your colors, all that. I've done a lot of rebranding campaigns for customers, and it's actually one of my favorite things to do. Because it's one of those things where it's usually just so messed up. Anything you do that's consistent is, you're a hero. However, it's just one of those things you look at and it's like, why would you not? It's so hard today, and I don't know what the number is now. It's got to be a lot higher than what I think it is for impressions that you need to make on somebody before they'll either come in your store or buy from you or, go online, go to your website. It's got to be at least 10 now. I'm not sure what the current number is, but
yeah, I heard like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
and that was back in the day.
Yeah, that's got to be a lot higher now with the ADHD that comes along with technology. So why wouldn't you not want everything to look the same? I've excuse me. There's been a lot of times I'll see something driving around. Contractors, for example. There's a new contractor that moved into town, and I didn't know they moved into town, but regardless, I was driving around picking up parts or something the other day, and I must have saw like 8 vans with the same white van, same logo, and I'm like, who that? It must be the same van, and I'm looking and like, no, it's not the same van, and come to find out, it was a new. Then all of a sudden, like 3 days later, a friend was talking about them. Okay, so there's like 6 impressions one day just by seeing their vans. Then somebody was talking about it. And then I saw an ad in the newspaper. I was walking by, and my wife gets it for coupons or whatever. But anyway, she had it open, and I saw an advertisement. I'm like, so there was 8. So finally, I actually looked at it and saw what kind of. I knew they were a contractor just because of the white vans, but I saw what they did. They're a plumbing and heating company. But it took 8, 9 times for me to actually see it. But I recognized the logo. It was consistent on their vans. It was consistent on their print ad. Aside from somebody talking to me, it was all the same. And it was just crazy that, some people don't do that and take every impressionable opportunity and utilize it to their advantage.
Look, there's so much we want to give you about this stuff, but there is a certain time limit to this. We could go on for hours about it, but the important point is that you understand that you need to think about what it is that your customer is going to come to love and respect about you. And if one of those simple things just happens to be that you're consistent, that you're not all over the place, that you're thinking about them and not just thinking about, I'm out to make a lot of money. No, you're out to build a brand. And all the things that have to do with building a brand. You can learn a lot more about this online. You can learn a lot more about this by going out and looking at your marketplace. But the most important thing you have to think about is somebody other than yourself.
Yeah. I know people that have made a lot of money starting everybody's like, well, why are you starting a business like that? There's another one right around the corner. Well, they did their research. They talked to the customers. They saw where there was a lacking within that market, and they took advantage of it, and that was their focus. That was what they've branded themselves around, and they've actually put the other companies out of business. So, there's a lot to be said for, and I agree, there is a time limit. Eventually, as time goes on, we'll actually either be doing another show similar to this, or ones that kind of cross-talk about, like the demographics one that you mentioned earlier. But we are on a time limit, of course. But eventually, we're going to have stuff on the website. We'll have stuff in our private members area as well to help you build your brand, different things. So, I once again, it's understated as to how much I appreciate you helping me with this show, Vince. And otherwise, it would just be me talking to myself. And unfortunately,
hey,
that's
always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, because despite Keith's many deficiencies. I love and respect the guy.
And I have many deficiencies, trust me.
And because I got to tell you, he has done things that few other people have done simply because he hung in there and learned. And then he took what he learned and he went out and he applied it. And he has done for other people a lot more than he has taken credit for. Okay? And again, it's because his focus is on the things that are important, not just the stuff that makes him feel good.
Exactly.
Okay?
I appreciate that, and it is true. I mean, ultimately, we want, I get great enjoyment. My enjoyment comes from helping other people with business, small business. Since I was a kid, it's just something I've always enjoyed. I've always been surrounded with, and I think it's a crazy but yet underserved market, a group of people. So, but anyways, you are welcome to go to check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Vero Concepts. Same thing on Twitter, twitter.com/Vero Concepts. Our website right now, we have a planning guide for free for you if you're in business or looking to start a business. It's a very in-depth, free thing. It does cost you an email. I know it's tough, but please feel free to sign up and download this report. There's a lot of great information on there. And hopefully get you started on your journey or help you at least rethink about the journey that you're already on. And I think a lot of good information can be harnessed, even if you can get just a little bit of different sections out of it. If you're already in business, then great. I hope you use it and utilize it. We worked hard to put it together, and I think it could benefit both the new and the experienced combined. So with that, I'd like to bid adieu. And Vince, you have any further comments or suggestions or witty, useless info comments about anything?
No.
No? Really? Really? You don't be hanging like that. You don't have one piece of useless information we can end the show on? Nothing?
No.
Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody listening, and here's to your success. And make sure you check us out. And if you have some time, listen to some past episodes here on Blog Talk Radio, and look forward to talking to myself and Vince next week. And I'm going to end the show on that note. Vince, it's been a pleasure, and I will talk to you next week.
Always a pleasure.
All righty, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.